Hi guys, welcome to our next lesson. It's domain and range of functions, and that's going to encompass a lot of different things. So we're going to talk about a variety of things today. And the first thing I want to just kind of help you to remember is a vertical line test. So this is nothing new. What this says is that I'm going to draw, oops, sorry, that's not a pretty vertical line. But if I drew a vertical line at any point in the function, it can only pass through the function one time. And if it passes through more than once, then it is not a function. So notice this is okay. It only passes through once, so this is definitely a function. This as well, it only passes through one time, so this is definitely a function. Notice this. All of these places it passes through more than one, so it is not a function. Also this, look, it passes through more than one, so it is not a function. Parabolas, that's what this is. These are always functions. These look like they're getting really close to straight up and down, but they're never straight up and down. So as far as the vertical line test, it will always pass it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about function notation. So function notation, it's just another way. It's like it's putting the emphasis on a function. So, it's another way of just saying like y equals something. If you want to replace it with y, that's okay. But you're going to see it a lot of times like this. Don't get freaked out by it. It's just we are probably going to be doing different things to it. So for example, f of 8, what I'm doing is I'm plugging 8 in here and here. So notice f of 8 equals, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to evaluate 8 for the function. So I'm going to plug in 8 for x and set it up like this. And then just type it in my calculator or do the math and see what you get. So I end up getting 186. And so that's what we're going to do for these here. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. So f of -2, I'm going to plug in -2 there and -2 here. Make sure that you're putting this in parentheses. So this should become a +4. So 3 times 4 is 12 minus 6 is 6. Notice this one, this is kind of weird. So I'm going to plug this x plus 3 in here. So anytime I see an x, instead of saying x, I'm going to say x plus 3. So it's going to look like this. X plus 3, and notice it was squared minus 6. So this is a little bit tricky. Let's follow order of operations. So we're going to do this first. So when we squared x plus 3 times x plus 3, we get x squared plus 6x plus 9. So I'm getting the 6x here. So 3x plus 3x is 6x. So then I'm going to multiply that by 3. And just this. So I'm going to get 3x squared plus 6x, sorry, plus 18x plus 27 minus 6. So I have 3x squared plus 18x plus 21. Okay, now this is interesting because now we're going backwards. We don't have x, but we have 6. So what does this mean? This means that y, or our answer, is equal to 6. So we're going to go backwards. So let's go up to our problem. So I know that this whole thing is equal to 6. So let's rewrite it. 3x squared minus 6 equals 6. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. 3x squared equals 12. Divide by 3. So x squared equals 4. And we're going to take the square root of both sides. So x squared, I'm sorry, not x squared, x equals equals plus or minus 2. Okay, let's go to another part. So we have, let's look at it in terms of graphing. So given the picture, find f of 0. So remember, I think f of x. So these are x values. So what is our y value when x is 0? So let's see. When x is 0, what is our y value? Okay, our y value is 4. So let's do it again. When x is 1/2, what is our y value? So let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to call it like 3.5. I'll say 3.5. Okay, so when x is -2, what's our y value? Right here. So let's see, 1, 2. Our y value is 2. So that's how that works. It's really kind of different, but it's not difficult. Okay, so we're going to be talking about domain and range next for a continuous graph. So we can have a graph that, looks like this. That's a graph, but it's not continuous. So a continuous graph is going to be like a line or parabola or something like that. So we're going to talk about the two different ways it can be written. One is in interval notation and one is in set notation. Set notation uses inequalities. So like, you've got this going on, where interval notation, that's like the parentheses brackets. So let's go ahead and look at these. Okay, so when I come to domain and range for graphs, I really force myself to think about the domain is how far to the left does it go, how far to the right does it go? And then the range, how far down does it go, how far up does it go? So I'm really going through that thought process when I come to these. Okay, so interval notation, let's kind of take that by itself. So interval notation is like for domain, it would be how far left does it go to how far right does it go. And then this may be a bracket or parentheses, I don't know. It might be either one of those. And then the range, we're going to go how low does it go to how high does it go. So when I am figuring these things out, that's my thought process for interval notation. So also don't forget that any infinities, those are going to be parentheses. So anytime you have an infinity, it's going to be parentheses. So let's look at this graph right here. So notice how this goes all the way, like this is going to keep inching on, down, 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 but on, to negative infinity. So this domain, it's going to go how far to the left does it go? It's going to eventually go to negative infinity to the left, and it's going to go to positive infinity to the right. So I'm going to say for my domain, I'm going to say negative infinity to infinity. And again, both parentheses, anytime you deal with infinities, they're always going to be parentheses. Okay, so for my range, how low does it go? Well, it's going to go infinitely low, so negative infinity. How high does it go? Infinitely high, so positive infinity. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's stay in the interval notation. So domain, let's look at this one. Let's clean this up. So this one, so how far to the left does this go? How far to the right does this go? Well, even though it's going up really fast, it's gradually going out to the left, and it's gradually going out to the right. So just like the other one, it's going to begin in negative infinity and it ends in positive infinity. Okay, the range. Let's look at the range. So I'm asking myself, let's go back here. How low is it? Well, let's see. I think that is as low as it goes. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes to -4. So I'm going to put a bracket there because it touches -4. And let's see, how high does it go? It goes all the way to positive infinity. And infinity is a parentheses. Okay, so let's do this one. So how far to the left does it go? How far to the right does it go? Well, as it's going down, it's also going over to the left. As it's going down, it's also going over to the right. So this one is also negative infinity, positive infinity. So let's talk about how low does it go? It goes forever to negative infinity. Let's see, how high does it go? So it goes up here. It looks like it's in between 16 and 20. So I think I'm going to call that 18. So it goes up to 18 and it touches that 18. So it's a bracket. It's not an idea, it's a bracket. Okay, so let's look at this one. So it starts at -4, -2. What does that mean for my domain? Let's see, how far to the left does it go? Let's see, -4. So it touches -4. How far to the right does it go? Forever. So I'm going to put parentheses there. Let's do the range. So how low does it go? That's the lowest that it goes. So that's 2. How high does it go? It's going to keep going up and up and up and up and up. So it's also going to be infinity. Okay, so let's erase this. Let's do this one. So this one's an interesting guy. So this means this open circle means that it goes right up to it, but it doesn't actually touch it. So when I see an open circle, I think parentheses. When I see a closed circle, I think bracket. So let's look at this. That looks like that's a -2 and a +2. Okay, so how far to the left does it go? It goes to -2, but it's an open circle, so it's going to be parentheses. How far to the right does it go? It goes to 2. It's a closed circle, so it's going to be a bracket. Okay, let's talk about range. So how low does it go? So it goes right here, and that is -2. So how low does it go? -2. How high does it go? Right there, which is 0. And because this guy is a closed circle, that is going to make it a bracket. Let's do one more. So notice that this has an open dot in the middle. So what that means is that we kind of have 2 pieces to this. We have this piece here, and we're going to join it with this piece here. So our domain, when we do this, let's just start with this piece right here. So how far to the left does it go? Well, it's going to go to -infinity. How far to the right does it go? Well, right here, but it's an open circle. So it's going to be 0, and it's going to be another parentheses just because it's an open circle. Okay, so now I have to join it with the other side. So now I'm just focusing on this side. So when I join something, I'm going to put this big U that is called the union. So how far to the left does it go? Well, it was an open circle on 0. So I'm going to put parentheses. How far to the right does it go? It's going to keep going and going. So it's going to be infinity and parentheses. Okay, so let's do the same thing with how low, how high. Okay, so right here, that's how low it goes, but it's an open circle. So we're going to have parentheses there. So how low does it go? It's the same, right, on both sides. So it's going to be, let's see, 1, 2. So parentheses at 2. How high does it go? These are both going to infinity. So it looks like that. Okay, let's talk about right here. Let's talk about set notation. So set notation, think inequalities. Okay, well, if you have, so let's talk about the domain. If you have negative infinity, positive infinity, all x's are going to work. So I'm just going to say x. And same thing with range, all y's are going to work. So I'm going to say y. So for here, everything works. So I'm just going to say x. But let's look at the range here. So it starts at -4 and it goes to positive infinity. So that means that our y values have to be greater than or equal to, because of that bracket, -4. So y is greater than or equal to -4. Okay, so let's do the domain and range on here. So notice the domain for this guy is just all x's will work. But this guy, notice it goes from -infinity. So how low does it go? It goes all the way to -infinity and then all the way up to 18. So I'm going to say that y is less than or equal to 18. Okay, let's do the domain and range here. So this one, it begins here and it goes on and on forever. So I'm going to say x, sorry, not y, this is domain. So x is greater than or equal to -4. And this range, y is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, let's do this one. So these are kind of tricky when the interval notation looks like this. So we're going to have a compound inequality for this one. So it's going to be the smallest is -2, and then that x is sandwiched in between there. So notice that this was a bracket, so it's going to be equal to 2, but just greater than -2. So notice that there's no line underneath that less than sign. So that's the difference. Okay, so this one is going to be -2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 0. Oh, sorry, it's not x, y. Y. So x is domain, y is range. Okay, and then finally for the last one, this one is pretty easy. This one we're going to talk about some more. So range for this one is just going to be y is greater than 2. Notice because there was a parentheses there. It's just greater than 2. Okay, and so this one we have two different things going on. So x is less than 0 because, let's erase this. Notice I have parentheses, so it's not equal to. And it goes from -infinity to 0. And then also x is greater than 0. So I have x is less than 0 over here and x is greater than 0 over here. So those kind of get tricky, but with practice you'll get them. And that is it.